some of the things Bill Evans was apt to do when he played came from the harmony of Debussy and Ravel. Bill would very often play rootless tops of chords, sometimes based on fourths, sometimes just the convenient top of the chord. For example, here's the chord and here's what you're missing. It's true Bill would ordinarily have a bass player playing that, but nevertheless, a sort of plaintive quality from the piano part emerges because his harmony seems to float in the air, unanchored. Again, this is like the Impressionist people that I mentioned, Debussy and Ravel. His harmonies were extremely influential, and so was his approach to melody. Let's stay with the harmonies for just a minute. He would reharmonize standard songs, show tunes, pop tunes, and he would do strange things with them, and they were not just for strangeness, not just sensationalism, they were just marvelously integrated in the nature of the song. For example, this old song, Poor Butterfly, originally goes... Bill might have done it this way. I never heard him do this exactly, but he might have done. Let's say it was this. So watch this. And furthermore, I'm going to put this into 3/4 time because a lot of Bill's playing happened to be on waltzes, which he invented or adapted. And if you take Poor Butterfly in 3/4 time using these chords, you have something like this: a B flat minor, G flat major 7, F minor 7, D7, to which we'll add the raised ninth, D flat, say a 6/9, C7 with a flat of 9, B7 with a flat 9, flat 5. Listen to this a little more closely now. B flat minor 7, G flat major 7, F minor 7, D7 raised 9, D flat 6/9, C7, let's say with a raised 5 and a lowered 9, B7 with a raised 9, and so forth. Put them together. Now, piano players can do a convenient thing in describing certain uses of chords. We can call them polychords and distribute them between the two hands. Say you have a D flat here, and you have an E flat upstairs. You can go up the whole scale that way. Nice effect as it is. You can, so you can write this with a slash or a fraction sign. D flat on the bottom, E flat on the top. Another way is, say you have C on the bottom and E flat on the top. Again, gives you the raised 9 kind of chord. You can extend this kind of thinking to all sorts of ways, like suppose I hold down a B chord in the left hand, B triad. In the right hand I can put a D, then an F, then an A flat, all sorts of things. But if you keep them close enough together, they merge as one chord. Now, Evans had some characteristic ways of shaping phrases. Typically, he would do a 2-measure phrase, rather short. He was not one of the people who wanted to play extremely long phrases, like the Leonard Tristano folks, and a lot of others too. He would play short phrases. They would likely be somewhat incomplete, and they might start after the beat. He practiced the same principle that I've heard Miles Davis tell somebody one time. Never start on the beat, and don't have a definite ending either. It adds to the floating quality of Evans' playing. So suppose we do this. Poor Butterfly in 3/4 time with some of those changes and these phrases. He used a great many triplets in his phrases, like this. Also, typically, he would be upstairs here in the soprano. Some pianists prefer to play down here. They want to sound, I think, more like a tenor sax. Like that. Evans, I think, was up here. I don't know what he wanted to sound like. What would you say, a flute, a violin? At any rate, this is where he seemed comfortable. And he put in these eighth notes which would propel. If he played a bunch of these short phrases together, then he would, so to speak, reward you with a long phrase after that, which is very good architectural thinking. Here's the reward. Another thing that he did, he used what's called a diminished scale. This goes like this. Let's descend with it. Whole tone, half tone, whole tone, half tone, whole tone, half tone, whole tone, half tone. Going up, of course. Whole, half, whole, half, whole, half, whole, half. It's very useful not only for diminished chords, which it's made to order for, but for chords of which the diminished is the top element. So suppose you have an F, and we'll call it an F7 with a lowered 9, and that means that the top of the chord is a diminished chord. Well, it works great with that. The fingering of this scale is something you have to find in more recent piano methods than the classical ones, because it never used to be considered a regular scale. It's not a minor, it's not the usual diatonic, but it's very useful, and jazz people know all about it. There are 3 of those scales because there are 3 diminished chords, and then you start over again. So there's this one, and that one, and this one. And it's worthwhile learning fingerings on each degree of the scale in all 3 of them. In all of these things, Evans was enormously influential. I think that almost every player since his time has studied his music, and we felt it in all sorts of contemporary players. But for me, the essential thing about Bill's playing is this plaintive quality. It's very plaintive, almost melancholy. Even when he swings hard, which he can do at times, it seems to want to come back to this loner, plaintive atmosphere.